Good evening, everyone. Now, this may not be a serious topic to many of you, but it's a very serious topic to me. Today I'm going to be discussing the Oakland Raiders' needs in the upcoming NFL draft. Now, the Raiders have a lot of needs considering they're just not a very good team in general. But I believe that drafting a pass rusher will lead the Raiders to gain 2 more wins in this upcoming season. A major key in successful defense in the NFL is having constant pressure on the opposing quarterbacks, which the Raiders do not have a lot of this last season. And I believe the main reason the lack of pass rush hurts the Raiders so much is because the quarterbacks just have way too much time on their hands to throw to the receivers, which eventually leads to points being scored. In this last season, the Raiders were below average in passing yards given up every game. They gave up 240 yards a game, which was a pretty bad 19th in the league out of 32 teams. And the Raiders defense also gave up a total of 6,102 yards, which is an even worse 26th in the league. So I think drafting a dominant pass rusher would also allow the other defensive linemen on the team more freedom to rush the quarterback. This is evident in the fact that in 2018, the Raiders as a whole only had 13 sacks, which was dead last in the league. However, in 2017, with a dominant pass rusher being Khalil Mack, the Raiders had a total of 31 sacks, which is a slightly better 24th in the league, meaning all the other defenders on the team had a total of 20.5 sacks. That's subtracting the 10.5 that Khalil Mack had. Now, to my last point, speaking of, this subject is very dear to my heart, and it's a great way to make me mad, or any Raider fan mad, especially my dad. John Gruden, the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, traded Khalil Mack just before the start of this season with the Chicago Bears. And I don't know if any of you guys follow football or the Raiders very closely, but Khalil Mack is one of, if not the best, most dominant pass rusher in the NFL, shown by his Defensive Player of the Year award in 2016. In 2017, when the Raiders still had Khalil Mack, the Raiders were 13th in the league in points given up per game, compared to this year, in which the Raiders were dead last. The Raiders were also 12th in the league in rushing yards given up per game, in which they only give up 108 yards per game. However, in 2018, the Raiders were 30th in the league in rushing yards given up per game, with 140. And you combine that with the amount of passing yards we give up every game, that's almost 400 yards, which doesn't lead to very many wins. And when the Raiders did have Khalil Mack, the Raiders had 6 wins compared to the 4 the Raiders had last year. And these are the reasons that I think the Raiders should target a pass rusher in the upcoming draft so that they will gain 2 more wins. Thank you.
Okay, well, the proposition's clearly stated. The subject's kind of interesting. You mean the future Vegas Raiders, not the Oakland Raiders, right? The notion that it's you're pretty specific about saying they're going to gain 2 wins as a result of that. I'm assuming that comes out at the end with the comparison that you're making with the loss of Khalil Mack, that we went. The Raiders, that the Raiders went from 6 wins down to 4 wins, and that was the primary difference because we lost that particular player. So if the Raiders replace a player in that position that is effective, that would be the 2 games that I think you're talking about there. I think there are a couple of things that are missing from the argument as I think about it a little bit. For instance, are there players that are going to be available that would be able to perform at that particular level? What's the Raiders' draft position, and what's the likelihood that they're going to get that? There are other considerations in this process, financial considerations. I'm not exactly sure what the problem that Gruden had with Khalil Mack was, and whether or not it's a contract issue, whether or not it was, a coaching issue, that sort of thing. But that seems like a pretty drastic action to take when you trade away your best player on defense, and you're willing to live with the consequences of it. It seems like there must be a reason there, and perhaps that doesn't get explained as well as it could be. Your analysis of the situation, I think, is fine. You're relying mostly on factual data about the games and the yards that they give up. And that's important. I think there are probably some other factors that might be used by the response speaker to talk about these issues. There are other reasons that the team's performance may not have been up to par, up to snuff, and but the notion that a pass rusher would make a big difference, I think you kind of give us a good reason why to believe why that's going to be true. All right, we'll stop there.